Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jerichoholic8704, and I am here with another video. It's been quite a long time. Yes, COVID-19 has kept all of us quarantined, as you all know, and this is probably the best time to try and add more videos to your YouTube channel. But if you're like me, you decide to take all the free time you have and put it towards nothing. And, I should probably consider changing that habit, considering I am now officially, as of today, I'm officially unemployed. But my birthday's tomorrow, so things are gonna offset themselves, I guess. But anyway, we are here with another video, another wonderful topic to discuss: my top 5 wrestling pet peeves. Now, originally I was thinking, I should do a follow-up video to that original video I made, 5-6 years ago, of my top 5 wrestling pet peeves, only to discover I made a part 2 and a part 3 that I have absolutely no recollection of. I searched it on my channel, and 2 additional videos that I was not expecting popped up. So I guess it shows how dedicated I am to this YouTube channel, where I don't even remember what the fuck I uploaded. So clearly we are off to a great start, but I figured I should go over all the different pet peeves that I mentioned in those previous 3 videos. And honestly, when I look back at them, I was like, God damn, my younger self, as much as I hate him and as much as he's a fucking idiot, he knew what he was talking about when he hated these things. Because I looked at all the pet peeves, I wrote all of them down, all 15 of them, and I was like, God damn, I still hate every single one of those things. So to run through them really quick, they are as follows: angry foreign gimmicks, constant social media plugging, stupid pay-per-view names, the term buried, CM Punk chants, excessive kicking out of finishers, King of the Ring gimmicks, fans hating on WWE promoting their pay-per-views as great pay-per-views even if they weren't. That one doesn't really roll off the tongue as much as the other ones, but anyway. Bad acting / just trash TV segments. I think I use the Bella, I wish you died in the womb as my example of that. Generic pay-per-view sets, the 2017 Raw set, Nia Jax's theme, lazy title designs, commercials during pay-per-views, that still pisses me off, you don't even fucking know. And finally, lone fan reaction shots. This has kind of died down the more I look at it. I think this was my biggest one, and when I look back on the recent trends of WWE camera work, which is still fucking abysmal, especially after it's extremely noticeable in an empty arena. So, we'll get to that, because I have more things to say about that, but the lone fan reaction shot has kind of died down. They still do it from time to time, and it still pisses me off, but it is rarer among WWE programming. But anyway, let us move on. Let us move on to the 5 new wrestling pet peeves. And when I look at the 5 I came up with for this particular part, it really makes me wonder why I didn't say these earlier, because these things I've been thinking for years, absolutely just bugging the shit out of me for the past, 5 or 6 years. So let's start with the first. Again, these aren't really in any particular order because they all pretty much equally piss me off, maybe some more than others, but at this point I'm not really worried about ranking them. So our first one on the list, I put this in quotes. Basically, it is just WWE terms. And you know what I mean by that. You mean championship opportunity, local medical facility. But what recently kind of tipped me off about this whole thing was just the little introduction at WrestleMania from Stephanie McMahon. And what I hate about this is it was just so corporate, and it was what I hate now. Amidst the coronavirus pandemic, right before I got laid off and I was still working, I would always have to, if I was emailing clients, I would always have to say something on the lines of due to the, per the recommendations of the CDC. And it would drive me absolutely fucking insane, because it's how do you not, I'm speaking to adults here. It's not like I'm speaking to a 4-year-old. I'm speaking to a fully grown adult. And it's COVID-19 is the only thing on the news. Can you really expect them to not know what I'm talking about? And why do I have to beat around the bush like that? And Stephanie McMahon did the exact same thing. And all the announcers are really doing it. It's just, this was the time I noticed it the most, mainly just because it was WrestleMania. So maybe that's why I took greater exception to it. But, this idea of forget the world's troubles. It's forget about the global pandemic that is literally the only fucking thing on the news. How, like, do you think your viewers are that dumb? And look, I know WWE caters sometimes towards children, so I guess maybe that's what they're thinking, but like, they have to know damn well. Even kids know what's going on. I would say any kid above the age of 6 knows exactly what's going on, because again, it's literally the only thing on the news. And again, if you're marketing this towards kids are probably thinking, why the fuck am I not going to school right now? Oh yeah, it's because there's a global pandemic going on. Like, you're not fooling anyone with this. Now, this does not just solely apply to WWE. This applies to everything. But when Stephanie McMahon did it, it just brought this newfound rage in me, because I hate when they do this. But it does apply to some of the lesser extreme versions of this, such as championship opportunity or what was the other one? Local medical facility. I've heard the logic behind local medical facility is something like, well, if we say hospital, they'll look up hospitals in the area and then they'll go, like, literally those days are over. Wrestling is like, you're so full of yourself to think that wrestling's that big. Now, again, I'm sure there's always an exception, but the exception doesn't fucking define the universal, okay? Look, I'm sure there'd be some crazy fan who would try to look up, where that hospital is or whatever, and, the hospital staff would be annoyed. But at the same time, it's like, you have to think of it like this. 1, not a lot of people are going to be doing that. 2, if that fan is fucking stupid enough to think that they actually went to the hospital, that fan's got other problems in the world coming towards them. But anyway, local medical facility doesn't change anything, though, because what is a local medical facility other than a hospital? What, did you take them to patients first? Like, you know what I mean? Like, people are just going to try that. Like, it's just such a stupid cover up to me, because I understand the logic behind it. I understand the thought process, but at the same time, can you just be real with your audience? The same thing with championship opportunity. I don't get this. This is one of those weird, like, just lingo that all the announcers have to go through and every wrestler has to say. And the problem is, it doesn't roll off the tongue. Title match really does, because you could say that about any sport. The Super Bowl, the competing teams are in a title match against one another. Like, you could say that in tennis, soccer, any sport you can think of could use the term title match, but you have to say championship opportunity. It just, again, is so corporate. That's just the word I keep thinking of. And it reminds me of just how you have to carefully word your emails to align with the corporation's views. It just pisses me off, and it's just really stupid and really insulting to your audience. It just, I don't know, it just sucks, and I hate it. And anything WWE does, when I look back on all these pet peeves, I wasn't trying to pick on WWE, but they're just so fucking easy to pick on. So is AEW, but again, WWE just a little bit more. But anyway, these terms only serve to give your show a new sense of identity in all the wrong ways. You know what I mean? Like, I always am screaming at wrestling shows to forge their own identity and make sure you're different from your competition. And WWE does try to set themselves apart, but again, in the worst possible ways. I guarantee you no other company would say, you can only say championship opportunity, you can't say title match. That's just such a WWE-ism that it just pisses me off, and I hate it. And another WWE-ism, and I alluded to this in the previous Pet Peeves video, but excessive camera cuts. Now, in the last video, I focused solely on the ones where, like a big spot happens, and then after the replay, they show like a slow-mo of someone going like, whoa! Like that was annoying in and of itself. But this recently tipped me off, again, during COVID mania, where without the distractions of the crowd, and, when the like arena is not jam-packed and it's just a closed television studio, for the lack of a better term, and you're just in the performance center, you really start to notice all the production elements that go into WWE programming and just how fucking atrocious they are. I noticed more than one occasion, pretty much every single match at WrestleMania, when there was a series of strikes, the camera was cutting after every single strike. And again, I know that's been happening for a very long time. And again, I think the thought process is, well, if we shoot the if we shoot the strikes at dynamic angles, they'll look more realistic. But what it really does is it gives me a headache, and it goes into this middle ground of, like, it's not overproduced. It's not like, like a dynamic theatrical production, kind of like how the Boneyard match was, or Gargano and Ciampa was. But then it also isn't like how like a New Japan match can be sometimes, where it's just like one steady camera shot for a long time, and you switch between 2 or 3 different angles, but you're catching like a long stretch of time with one camera angle. Both of those, I think, are effective. And with this excessive camera cut, you're kind of treading like a middle ground where you can't really be in the middle on this. You kind of have to be towards one end of the spectrum or the other for it to be consistent, because sometimes, you're just having one deadpan camera angle, that being the hard cam, and then all of a sudden you're like bam, 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 just going to different camera angles, and it's just annoying for your viewer because it's like, where are they supposed to look? And it's inconsistent in presentation. So that's one problem. But the bigger issue, and this was highlighted heavily, oh my god, this was so infuriating. Edge's Royal Rumble return. One of the best returns, I think, ever in a Royal Rumble match. Possibly ever. I thought this was a great moment. They did a great job of keeping it secret. There were rumors, it was kind of expected. Like when I heard Edge's music, I wasn't expecting him to come out, but I had heard the rumors, so there was like this, oh shit, it's actually true. So like, it wasn't that super authentic reaction you would have hoped for, where it's like you just didn't see it coming at all. But I was still doubtful, and I didn't think it was going to happen, that it still got a genuine reaction out of me, and I got a genuine reaction out of a lot of people. But of course, in typical WWE fashion, it's not about, the wrestler coming back. It's not about this character that you cared about finally returning to the ring. No. It's about the moment. And what fucking Michael Cole, what a Royal Rumble moment. He had, I'm like 99.9% sure he said that, because I recently watched the Edge documentary, and I'm pretty sure I caught Michael Cole saying that, and I threw myself out my fucking window after I heard that, just because fuck that. I hate that. But anyway, if you go back and watch Edge's return, there's just an excessive amount of camera cuts, so many shots of the crowd, and then there's like a bunch of like weird shots where it's like just they pan out to where you catch some of the like the dugout entrance area, some of the crowd, and some of the smoke from Edge's entrance, but like nothing is going on. And what I think they should have done, because to me, one of the best shots from the Royal Rumble, probably the best camera shot they got, was that shot of Edge slowly walking through the smoke and like having that look on his face like he was about to cry, and he was just like looking out into the crowd, and then like he transitions to like he goes into that pose, and he throws his hands in the air and the fireworks go off. That stretch I thought was brilliant, because I don't know if Edge was going for this. I don't know if he was caught up in the moment, but it almost looked like it was a transition from like Adam Copeland to Edge. Like you see the man behind the character, realizing that he's back, and he looks into the audience, and he's almost about to cry, because he's like, he missed this so much, and he's back, and he worked so hard, and now, his music's playing, this capacity crowd is roaring for him. They're so happy that he's back. And then in a moment, he puts like that opportunist Edge face on, and he turns up his hands, and then there's just the pyro, and like bam, that's Edge. You know what I mean? That shot right there was awesome. It was perfect. It was great, and it was such a great moment. But prior to that, we have just a bunch of goobers in the crowd screaming, cheering their heads off, and it's like, look, I get that. I'm glad they had that moment. I'm glad they had that moment where they could scream and cheer for their favorite wrestler coming back. But my God, I get it. Why not? Why can't I have this moment? You know what I mean? Like I understand we're the WWE universe, but it's like, let me enjoy the moment. Let me enjoy the fact that one of my favorite wrestlers is coming back. I don't have to see everyone else going crazy for you to tell me to go crazy. That's something I highlighted in the last video, where it's like, all this is WWE telling you how to feel. And people never want to be told what to think and what to feel. And you know what makes your fans go crazy? When you have a character that they've loved, a wrestler they've loved for years, finally come back, people will go crazy on their own, because it's a connection they had that was broken, and now it has been restored. I don't need, Joe Schmo in row A23 telling me how to be excited when I see him screaming his head off. And to make matters even worse, I have this guy come back. I love Edge. His entrance was great. Again, that one shot of him coming through the smoke was awesome. If that was the first time we saw Edge, I think that would have been perfect, because they caught Edge coming right out of the dugout, like kind of going crazy and like waving to the crowd and everything. And it was for like a split second. So it was like you see Edge for 1 second, and then it's just a bunch of camera cuts of a arena and fans going crazy, which is cool and all. But what I think should have happened is you can pan to the crowd initially, or maybe do like a wide shot of the arena, so you can see all the people rising to their feet, and then you kind of just have the camera focus in on the smoke, and like the smoke's kind of filling the lens, and then the first shot we see is Edge, like in his actual entrance, coming out with that emotional look on his face. That, I think, is probably the better way you could have done that. But again, I'm nitpicking here, but again, it's stupid. And the worst part about it is, after all of this, you miss his first spear. That was unforgivable. Like I could get over the entrance because, again, we still got that awesome shot of Edge. But when you go to the camera, when you go to the crowd one more time to miss Edge's first spear, like, that fucking sucks. You are such, like, oh God, the production team can just really suck ass sometimes. Speaking of sucking ass, This Is Awesome chants come in at number 3. So it's a two-way street with This Is Awesome. I hate the chant in and of itself, and I also hate what it represents. So This Is Awesome, I'm like, okay, first of all, like, what a generic fucking chant. Like, what should we say to show our appreciation for this match? This is awesome. Like who, like, did a third grader think of this? Like, I just think it's such a weird chant for adults to be chanting in the middle of, you know, a wrestling match. And it's just, it sounds super generic. It sounds super childish. I don't know. I've never been a fan of it. I never wanted to chant it. And I just think it's overall a really cheesy kind of way to get the crowd involved in the match. That's just very artificial and not very authentic. However, the main reason I hate it is because it is basically the representation of how WWE has conditioned their fans to react to matches. Fans are not supposed to care about the characters in the ring. They're not supposed to care about the wrestlers. They're not supposed to care about their backstories. They're not supposed to care about who wins and who loses. Kind of the pillar of wrestling, if you fucking ask me, but again, 'tis neither here nor there. What you're supposed to care about, if you're a WWE fan, is you're supposed to care about the big moves, the big kick out, you know, the big double down. Because what always happens, fans are dead silent for the first 10 minutes of a match. I'm not saying it's the fans' fault, because sometimes, you know, if there's two people in the ring you don't care about, you're not really going to care about who wins and who loses. But eventually you're going to have two people the fans don't care about, and then you're just going to have a double down after 10 minutes of just generic wrestling and sitting on your ass. You know, at a double down, everyone's going to stand up and chant "This is awesome." And it's like, what was awesome about that? You know, if there's an actual match that has people on the edge of their seat, I could see people chanting "This is awesome." I still think it's kind of childish and generic. But anyway, the point of it is, it represents how little WWE wants their fans to think. It's just, here, monkeys, you chant "This is awesome" when the wrestlers tell you to. And again, maybe it's like a really elaborate level of working that my fucking stupid mind can't wrap my head around. Maybe that's the reaction wrestlers want, but I think wrestlers on WWE, deep down, they know that they really aren't getting sort of any genuine reaction out of the crowd, especially since it's the same chant every time. You know, if fans were reacting differently to each matches, it would show that, like, they were connecting to the fans in different ways. But you have something like the "This Is Awesome" chant, which is such a generic chant that it can just be a blanket for all matches on the card, to the point where if everything is awesome, what is awesome? That's another problem I have with just, like, the overwhelming amount of positivity. Like, I know wrestling fans are known for being super negative and hating everything, but at the same time, I think there's a toxicity in positivity, an overt amount of positivity, to the point where it's like everything has to be good. It's just, I hate that. And I hate how every match now is awesome. It just devalues what a good match really is. And it's not to say that, like, you know, matches can't be good. Like, I'd want my matches to be good. But when you look at a card, especially like a pay-per-view card, you know, sometimes the prelim matches are supposed to just be prelim matches. Like, your main event is supposed to be your big, if you're going to do a "This Is Awesome" chant, it should be for the main event or one of the bigger matches on the card. You know, the 7-minute match with Mojo Rawley and Ricochet, does that really need a "This Is Awesome" chant? Because again, why would I be invested in those guys? They haven't done jack shit. But for some weird reason, their match is awesome. I hate, and again, it kind of goes back to the, just like, almost in a weird way, WWE telling the fans to tell me what to think. I hate that. I hate it a lot. So anyway, we have stupid sound effects. So this is very easy to explain. And the two biggest cases of this are the fucking, like, weird creaking sound on Aleister Black's coffin when he enters the ring, when he does his little ascension up from his coffin, and there's that little creaking noise. I don't know, like, whose idea that was, but they deserve to be fired. Why the fuck would you do that? I think it's just one of those, like, so on the nose. I sometimes hate how on the nose WWE can be, where it's like you have to spell every single thing out. And, like, did they think it made them cooler? I just don't like, and this goes double for Ricochet. It's like bow, bow, bow before his theme song starts. Ricochet has a pretty cool theme song, and like just like I get it. Like trust me, I get it. Like, do you get it? The bullets are ricocheting, and his name is Ricochet. Like, I fucking get it. You don't need to spell it out for me. This is just something that, like, again, it hasn't hurt their careers. It's not like it's buried either of them. They're both fine. Oh, trust me, they buried Ricochet themselves. Aleister Black, he's still kicking, but, I feel like it's a matter of time before he's pushed down to the bottom. But anyway, it's just one of those goofy eye roll moments where it's like, why was that even needed? And what I want to know is, like, of all the things to improve upon, you see Ricochet, you see Aleister Black, you see them enter the ring, you see what they can do in the ring, how they connect with the crowd. But the first thing you think is, like, you know what this guy needs? He needs some creaking sounds to really get over that coffin. No one has, like, Aleister Black ascending from that coffin and walking in the ring, like, that's like part of his entrance, sure, but that is not like what is most over about Aleister Black. If anything, it's his matches, it's the black mass kick. Same thing with Ricochet. People, there aren't people in the crowd going like beong beong beong, like shooting finger guns or something. No one cares about that. But for some fucking reason, some idiot in the back had to go, you know what this entrance needs? Some bullets are ricocheting off, like a steel wall or whatever. Like, I don't know. It's just a very, very dumb way of thinking, and it's so not important that it's just useless. And finally, this kind of goes to the "This is awesome" chant, but it's a kind of a different beast. The company chant. And specifically, you see this with NXT and with AEW. And my problem with this, it's a two-way street, because it's like, I think it's a me thing. Like, this really isn't an issue. This really isn't a problem like the other four are. This is more so something that I just roll my eyes at. This is just a completely personal taste. So it's like, I don't even hate people who chant NXT or AEW. But to me, it's like, these chants always emerge when there's a great match going on. And again, it's very similar to "This is awesome." The idea being, like, this match is actually just, it represents what I love about this company, which, again, isn't inherently a problem. Like, when I say it out loud, I'm like, it doesn't really sound bad. But what it does is, I think it takes me out of the match. It takes me out of the story that's being told in the ring. Let's just say we have a great match with Kenny Omega versus Cody Rhodes. All right, let's just use those two for example. They're having a kick-ass match. They're telling a great story. And then Kenny Omega does like a one-winged angel off of the fucking rafters. And everyone chants, AEW, AEW, AEW. To me, it's like, what you're saying with that AEW chant is, these guys are literally just catalysts. They're vehicles for my brand loyalty. And again, there's nothing wrong with being loyal to a wrestling company. I'm not saying that's a problem. And I'm not saying there's a problem with chanting a company's name. Like, I think it's great when, the show starts and everyone's chanting AEW and everyone's chanting NXT, because it's like, we're excited for the show. We're going to chant the show's name. I get that. But when you chant the company name during, during a match, I just think it's a disservice to the wrestlers who are trying to tell you a story. It just seems like their matches are meaningless because it's about the collective. It's not about the individual. You know what I mean? I think, I sound like I'm getting political here, but I think that's the issue I'm having. I kind of had to work this out in my head when I originally put this down, but can we take a moment to appreciate what everyone's doing on an individual level? Can we appreciate this as a wrestling show and not as a brand? Can we take every match for what they're worth, take every match for their stories, for the wrestlers in the matches, as opposed to how are you contributing to why I have to defend All Elite Wrestling, or I have to defend WWE or NXT or any other company? Why does that have to happen? People do it in New Japan too. When the US shows come to New Japan, a lot of times there's New Japan chants. The only time I thought it was kind of appropriate was at the G1 when they had Okada and Tanahashi, and the fans were just going crazy because that was like, I'm so happy that I'm seeing these two wrestle, and the New Japan chants kind of came out of that. They said both of these guys, they chanted for Tanahashi, they chanted for Okada, but it's this idea that you should be more focused on the individuals in the ring, because to me, it's those are the people you want to see. You didn't come to see All Elite Wrestling. You came to see each of these individual people, or at least that's how it should be. Because if that's the case, if you're coming to a show to see the company, then you're just kind of a bandwagoner. You know what I mean? Like, that just doesn't seem right to me. If I go to a wrestling show, it's not because I want to see WWE. I want to see Seth Rollins. I want to see Kevin Owens. I want to see Roman Reigns. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it should be for the individuals. And I think, honestly, that is probably the biggest crutch of wrestling nowadays, is it's kind of a brand war. It's not about the people. It's not about the individuals. And I think, like if you go back to the glory days, if you look back a little bit, and it's like, who was selling out arenas? Hulk Hogan was. WrestleMania wasn't selling out arenas. It was Hulk Hogan. But now WrestleMania has become such a brand that is what sells out, a 70,000 seat stadium. No wrestler could ever do that. Oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? Like, Roman Reigns single-handedly could not promote or, fill 70,000 seats. It's the company that does it. Conversely, All Elite Wrestling is going to these arenas, and it's like, I'd like to think, when I went to some AEW shows, I was going because I like the wrestlers. My favorite wrestler of all time is a former AEW champion. I like Kenny Omega. I like the Young Bucks. You know what I mean? It's like all these people who I'm a fan of, I want to go see them. I don't really care about AEW itself. I'm not going to see AEW. I'm going to see the wrestlers. And I think when you chant the company name during those matches, it just brings to light this issue of the collective versus the individual in wrestling. You know what I mean? Again, I'm not trying to get political here, but I don't know. It always bothers me, because it's like, I'm not watching AEW wrestle. I'm watching Kenny Omega wrestle. I'm not watching NXT wrestle. I'm watching Gargano and Ciampa tear the house down. Those are the guys I came to see. I don't care about NXT per se as like an individual. I care about NXT as it's the home to some of my favorite wrestlers, and that's what I want to see. Why would I chant for NXT? It is simply the name of the show. And again, I don't mind it in the very beginning, because it's like, oh yeah, I'm hyped for this week's NXT episode. But once those wrestlers are in the ring, that's who you care about most. You don't care about the company, you care about them. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe I have just a weird take on it, but it always bothered me. But that's it for me. In typical me fashion, we are nearing 30 minutes when this was supposed to be like 10. But that's it. My name is Jared Hall, 704. I'll see you guys later.